Everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. I have some great news to share. This is becoming like an episode of Oprah's favorite things, like, did you get a lawsuit? And you get a law. You're all getting lawsuits. Like everybody's getting sued. Here's the deal. Multiple new lawsuits have been filed against Donald Trump's big lie pushers, and they're just delicious. The first lawsuit was filed against right-wing blog founders, Jim and Joe Hoft. So these are brothers. They run the conspiracy website called the Gateway Pundit. And their site played a huge role in perpetuating the Georgia election fraud fantasies. I mean, all of them in general, but that one in particular is why they're being sued. More specifically, because the Gateway Pundit ran with Trump's bogus story about two election workers pulling suitcases of illegal ballots out from under tables and feeding them into the voting machines, the ballot machines. This was the result of a very highly edited video that right-wingers were spreading on social media. And even one-term Trump played the video at his rallies after he lost the election. So it was very cherry-picked to try to show exactly what they wanted people to see. And Trump named these innocent women repeatedly. He named them constantly, even on the call with Brad Raffensperger down in Georgia, that recorded phone call. He mentions them then. And so he turned his rabid, violent base, or many in his base, I should say, into essentially bounty hunters. And they wanted these women's heads. If you haven't heard of these women, their names are Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. It's a mother and daughter. They did absolutely nothing wrong, but they became the target of election deniers' hate. And in fact, they had to go into hiding. They were targeted so severely, so grossly, with threats against their lives. People were threatening their family members' lives. Shay Moss, which is the daughter, even her child was targeted and threatened. I mean, that's how sick these people are. And if Ruby Freeman's name sounds familiar, it might be because of a story that recently emerged. There was a story that you guys may have heard about Kanye West's former publicist who went to Freeman's house and then later met her at a police station to issue warnings to her. If you haven't heard the story, it is almost unbelievable. It could only happen in reality TV America. It really can. The woman's name is Trevion Kuti. That's the publicist's name. And she went to Freeman's house. Freeman refused to speak with her without a police officer present. And so the police said, well, why don't you come down to the police station? You can talk with her here. So they met at the police station, and a portion of their conversation was caught on body cam because there was an officer standing there during part of their conversation. Well, once the officer walked away, the conversation took a really dark turn. So this took place, mind you, on January 4th, okay, 2 days before the Capitol attack. Kuti informs Freeman that she's in danger. And then she said, I can protect you, but you're going to be arrested if you don't come clean, if you don't admit that you committed election fraud within 48 hours was the time frame she gave her. You are going to be arrested. But if you come clean right now, I have people that will protect you. They'll keep you safe so nothing happens to you. So Freeman just said, I don't want to talk to you anymore. She got up, she left because she realized what was going down. So, essentially, remember, this is January 4th. She's telling her, you have to come clean within 48 hours. So basically, they're telling Freeman, you have to admit to something you didn't do prior to Biden's electoral college votes being counted, or you're going to go to prison. And then Kuti also said to Freeman, quote, you are a loose end for a party that needs to tidy up. Sounds like a threat to me. And when these two women met, Cootie put Freeman on the phone with a man who has now been revealed as someone who is involved with the Trump campaign on some level. What a shock, right? I know. Anyway, Freeman obviously wasn't arrested, but on January 6th, while the Capitol was being attacked, a crowd of people went to her house and surrounded her home. So there were people on foot, there were people in vehicles, and they surrounded her home. They were beating on her door. They were yelling and screaming for her to come out. Luckily, she had already, at the urging of the FBI, went into hiding. She left her house. She was gone for months. She couldn't go back. Freeman also had to shut down her online business, she says, because of the social media harassment. Her daughter also, Shay Moss, has had to change her life to deal with the horrific onslaught of violent threats and the racist harassment. The lawsuit states, quote, on at least 2 occasions, strangers showed up at her grandmother's home and attempted to push into the house in order to make a citizen's arrest. And it says that she now fears being out in public. She gets scared if she hears her name. She has all of her groceries delivered. So the Gateway Pundit lawsuit notes that in the fourth quarter of 2020, so at the end of the year, right before the January 6th attack, 9 out of the 10 most viewed, their most popular articles on their website were about voter and election fraud and spreading disinformation about election fraud. So the plaintiffs contend that that was their motive. That's the way they plan to build their brand and increase their revenue. And that even in the face of countervailing evidence, which disproved Trump's big lie, they continued to push this false narrative. And then obviously it led to threats and harassment. And these women are just on edge and, you know, it's ruined their lives. So that's the first lawsuit. They're asking for damages to be awarded. The next lawsuit was also filed by Freeman and Moss. And in that lawsuit, they name defendants Rudy Giuliani, One American News Network, OAN's chief executive, Robert Herring, and the president of that company, Charles Herring. They also name the White House correspondent for OAN, Chanel Rion. The allegations are the same in that lawsuit, in the second lawsuit. And as with the Gateway Pundit filing, it asked the court to grant plaintiffs financial compensation for damages. The lawsuit also demands that all articles and news segments containing their names or, you know, any allegations of election fraud be removed from the website, you know, from the Gateway Pundit, from OAN. Now, the third lawsuit that I have to share was filed by Eric Coomer. Coomer, as you may recall, is a now former Dominion Voting Systems employee. He was also targeted after right-wingers falsely claimed that he personally rigged voting machines. They said he was a member of Antifa, that he conspired with them, that he planned this from the beginning. Now, here's the deal with this defamation lawsuit. Coomer is suing right-wing talk show host Clay Clark. He's also suing Reawaken America Tour, which is Clark's tour throughout America, pushing these conspiracy theories. He's suing his show, which is called Thrive Time, as well as Clark's LLC, which is called Make Your Life Epic. Yeah, by going to prison. So this lawsuit alleges much of the same wrongdoing that was noted in the other 2 lawsuits that I just talked about. And as with Freeman and Moss, Coomer's life was just completely upended. It was completely turned upside down. He had to leave his job. He can no longer find work in the election industry. He and his family have been subjected to just horrific, violent death threats. They also had to flee their home. They had to go into hiding. I mean, people were making sick sadistic, horrific threats against, sexualized threats against his wife, against his children. So the erroneous election fraud statements about Coomer were originally disseminated by a prominent right-wing activist from Colorado. It's a man named Joe Altman. As you guys may recall, because I did a segment on this, Coomer filed a defamation lawsuit against Altman earlier this year. He also sued Trump's reelection campaign, several attorneys involved with Trump, and then various right-wing media outlets. Well, now he's suing Clark because Clark is just continuing to perpetuate the lies about Coomer. At one time, Clark even appeared on a podcast with Altman, and he allegedly said that Coomer, quote, should or could, I'm not sure which, be put to death for treason. So these were all filed and reported on over the past few weeks, all of these lawsuits. But it was just reported that early in December, so this kind of flew under the radar, but early in December, Fox, Sidney Powell, and Lou Dobbs were all hit with another lawsuit for their election fraud lies. A Venezuela man named, I know I'm going to butcher his first name. It's either Majid or Mehed. I'm not sure. Last name is Khalil. I can pronounce that. He filed an 83-page lawsuit against Fox Corporation, Fox News Network, their former host, Lou Dobbs, and then Trump-loving Kraken attorney, Sidney Powell, for $250 million. And this, again, is for falsely claiming that he was involved in an election fraud scheme. Khalil says that Dobbs and Powell on Fox News repeatedly pushed this conspiracy theory that he somehow worked with both Dominion voting systems and Smartmatic to rig the election in favor of Joe Biden. The lawsuit also notes that Dobbs, without any basis, in fact, no evidence to back it up, said that Khalil was, quote, a liaison with Hezbollah. Khalil denies having any affiliation with either of these voting machine manufacturers, and he claims that neither Dobbs nor Powell ever reached out to him. They never contacted him about this matter to ask him, or, before they started pushing these conspiracy theories on air. So we'll see where all of these lawsuits go, but something's got to stick, right? And I know that Fox is worth $1 bazillion. I know that they have so much money that people say, oh, it's not going to hurt them. Even if it's hundreds of millions of dollars or $1 billion, they have so much money. But if every person that they've harmed files a lawsuit against them and their on-air personalities, it's eventually going to cause them some financial pain. They might think twice about letting these lunatics lie day after day, night after night. I mean, think about it. What do right-wingers love more than money? These wealthy right-wingers like the Murdochs. There's nothing they value more than money. So even if it's $10, I mean, they're literally like Mortimer and what's his name from Trading Places. I mean, oh, let's bet $1. Ooh, that's going to hurt. I mean, any amount is going to make them cry. And I would love to see the contracts that they have with their on-air personality, because I wonder if there are any clauses in there, like if the on-air personality is responsible personally for what they say and any liability, or if the network is totally responsible, or if they can sever their relationship and go after the on-air personality if it costs them too much money or too much damage. I don't know, but we'll see. And here's the thing, I'm 100% for freedom of speech, for freedom of the press. I think that what they're doing to Julian Assange for him publishing information that was given to him, I think that's 100% wrong. I think it should never happen in America. But these were not framed as opinions. They propagated these election fraud lies and pretended that they were facts, when in fact, they knew that it was false. Even after 60 plus lawsuits were laughed out of court, they continued to spread the big lie as though there was evidence to support it, when they knew that the complete opposite was true. That's not journalism. That's not the press. That's not what the press is supposed to do. And it sure as hell isn't protected by the First Amendment, or it shouldn't be, especially not when real people are facing very real death threats due to your very fake election fraud fairy tales. So in my opinion, every single one of the January 6th defendants should sue. They should sue Fox and Trump and Giuliani and Powell and everyone else, everyone who lied to them and got them whipped into a frenzy. Do these people have agency? Are they adults that make their own decisions? They decided to go to the Capitol. They decided to break in, to maybe even, vandalize the place, to assault officers. Absolutely. But would they have done so if they weren't lied to? If all of these people didn't lie to them about the election being stolen, would they have done that? Would they have bothered to travel to DC? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So the onus really is on all of these people. It's on Trump. It's on Fox News hosts. It's on Giuliani and Powell and Lynn Wood and all of these other lunatics. Class action lawsuit, you guys, for any January 6th defendants who are watching, I think you should do it. I would support it. I would absolutely support it. I would actually try to help you find an attorney to take the case. I might even donate money. Yeah. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching and listening. Take care. I'll talk with you soon.